Okay. How did you get interested in architecture?
When I was in year 8, my parents had an extension on their house. I don't know why I sat in one of the meetings and they were literally just discussing the fireplace. I was quite interested in how you could focus on such like a tiny detail over and over again and like imagine it so many different ways. I don't think I'd ever thought of it as a profession at that point because nobody in my life was an architect, so I think that was like my first spark.
How did you progress from that to studying architecture?
I feel like I'm the kind of person when I make my mind up about something, I just want to do it.
Yeah.
So from that point forward, I was very much researching, like, how do you become an architect? And I feel like, especially when we were growing up, it was, I think, even more like traditional than it is now, and a lot more, there's like a path you take. And so the first step was GCSEs. What GCSEs do I need to take? I was really bad at art, like really, really bad. And so I was like, okay, I need to learn how to draw. But I knew, so I wouldn't say I'm the best drawer now, but that was the skill I worked on. And then I chose my GCSEs based on that. And then I chose my A-levels based on what universities were asking for.
What A-levels did you do?
I did art, maths and geography. Because a lot of the ones I did the open days for, they were like art, maths and a science. And so originally I was thinking biology because I like biology.
Yeah.
And then I learned that geography actually counts as a science at A-level. And so I did geography.
I did physics because for some reason the only science that I thought would link to was physics, so I did physics.
I understand that because physics I can see links very well.
Yeah.
I think it really has influenced the type of architect I am because I was really interested in human geography and how people function and work and like trade and things like that, and I think that element influences the type of architecture I'm into. I'm interested in like how people function and the way that people live. Different cultures, different environments, and I think that's because I was interested in human geography. Yeah,
so I've spoken to like so many people, and I feel like the range of subjects they did at A-level is different. If you could go back and choose A-level subjects, what subjects would you choose?
I think I still do art and geography because I really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Maths, however, was probably the most traumatic thing in my life. I don't know what I would have done instead. I think, like I say, I got very set on what I wanted to do, so I don't think I really considered anything else.
Yeah.
When I was that age, not necessarily now, but when I was that age, I was also really interested in drama. And I was a bit resentful of my school because they introduced GCSE drama after I did GCSEs, and I felt like by A-level time, it wasn't an important one to do. And so maybe if it really, really didn't matter, maybe at that time, now I probably wouldn't pick drama, but if I was like back in my 16-year-old body, that would.
Yeah. Where did you do your undergrad?
Loughborough.
How was it, Loughborough?
I think it's very hard for me to like fairly talk about it because my degree was mainly during the pandemic, which I think is not a fair evaluation of a place.
Yeah.
I think also because they were getting accredited while I was there, they were really pushing for certain things, and that made, at least if I compare it to this experience and then talking to other people's experiences they had in their undergrad, it was just a lot of like stress and pressure they put on us. I did learn a lot and I did have a very enjoyable experience, but also there were times where in my undergrad I didn't feel like I had a social life. But I do know people on my degree that did have a social life. Maybe that's just the way I work. But
what were your other
5 that I did were, so Loughborough was actually my first.
Yeah.
Then my second was Bristol UE, but that was architecture and environmental engineering. It wasn't just straight up architecture.
Oh, okay.
And then if I could, if at a third, it would have been Lincoln.
Yeah.
Oh, I did Manchester Met, but they asked for like a letter of like why you wanted to go there, and I'd already had my 4 other choices back, and then also so I did all my other 4 choices, and then I had also an A-level art bit due in, and so I was like, I'm not writing this letter for Manchester, so I pulled out of them before they could say, I wouldn't have got the grades anyway, so before they could reject me I rejected them. I cannot remember when my 5th one was.
Do you think you're good at time management?
I'd say yes and no. I'd say like I'd like to think I get a lot of work done and I achieve a lot. I struggle to stop working. Like I feel like a lot of people, especially in architecture, feel this way, and I think it is a result of like the way that my undergrads ran. I feel very guilty if I'm not working. So one of my goals with starting my masters was to actually spend some time to myself, not working, and I've realised like I've still been able to achieve the quality of work that I want to be able to achieve, but I stress a lot, which so it causes me to do like my work as soon as I get it. I can't, and I'll do work in advance. Where I lack in my time management is allowing myself to rest, and by doing work that's like too far in advance.
Did overworking prevent you from having to pull all-nighters?
I've never ever pulled an all-nighter, and that's something I'm very proud of. One time I was in a group project in my undergrad. I didn't pull an all-nighter, but I woke up at like 7 a.m. And someone in my group was like, "We need to make a model." The deadline was at 9 a.m. That was mildly stressful. But other than that, especially when I'm working solo, never really had to deal with that.
I feel like the time management thing is such an interesting one, because on one hand, like, there's people who are like up all night just working away, and then there's people who are like, okay, yeah, I know I'm not good at time management, so I'm going to like try to do everything as quick as possible. But then there's people who are both, which is very interesting, who do everything as quick as possible, but then they keep like going over the same thing, because there's also like a sense of like perfection. I think there's something in architecture though. I think it's built into you. Like, I remember my undergraduate, it's a sandwich course. So I remember when we were applying for our placement, our tutor had gone to us being like, the way that you even write your CV, if one thing's out of line, then that could lose you your job. They won't even look at your portfolio. And I feel like even though it's not actually that deep when it gets into the real world, it's just in my head now. How do you get through a creative block?
I think sometimes talking to people who aren't creative can help, because they'll come up with things that either really irritate you and you'll be like, I need to stop talking, and like, I don't know how that helps. Or there's something that say something really left field, and it really isn't what you're trying to achieve, but it could really open up a new avenue that you haven't thought about. I'm a big love of like tracing things. When designing a building, it's just a case of just like not really caring what I'm trying to achieve, not trying to achieve a specific outcome, but just going over the same thing over and over again and see what happens.
Is there anything you do that isn't architecture related?
I really struggle to like actually rest. So last year I took a gap between my undergrad and my master's, and originally I was going to try and find a job in practice, but if anyone knows the job market at the moment, it's not the easiest. So I decided, you know what, this is like the world telling me just maybe step back from architecture for like a year. And I really found like my love for cooking and food, and so taking a bit of a break on it just at the moment, but I think I'm going to get back into it like once this project in particular is done and I have like space in my brain. But I started like working on a cookbook. It's like a learning process. I love learning about different cultures through food. I feel like you learn a lot about things through food. I discovered that love, and then also very much like, this is in my room, nobody else around. I play the piano. But that is like literally like select people are allowed to hear that.
Do you play for fun, or did you have lessons?
So my uncle was my teacher. So he is a piano teacher at school, and then he does private lessons. But I did like classical music for a period of time. Hated it, but I have really bad social anxiety, so I never really quit. I'm the only one of the nieces and nephews that really stuck it out, and you know, it's one of those things I'm actually maybe grateful for my anxiety for once, because it made me stick something out, because now I relax and I love the piano. I play more like pop songs, things on the piano, so it's for fun. I only got to grade 4. I'm not the best at it. It's for myself. It's kind of a way that I de-stress. At the weekend, I was very stressful and I couldn't work out what would calm me down. I just sat at the piano for 2 hours.
And with regards to your cookbook, what kind of food is it?
I live sometimes with my dad, but a lot of the times by myself. But even when I'm with my dad, I cook for myself. And I found like that quite like a wasteful thing. Like, especially like the supermarket near me doesn't have a lot of loose vegetables and things. So I was looking at how can we do like a recipe book for one person on their own, because that could also mean you could double it up, you could triple it up, but how can we do that, and then but from all around the world? Because also I feel like every vegan cookbook I open has the same like 10 recipes in, unless like it's from a specific region or country. So what I've been doing is, well, I can't like validate that they're traditional recipes, but I've been trying to do my research, and a lot of the cookbooks also have like the history of where the food comes from within these countries. So then I can see how they can be best adapted for a vegan diet, like what can be done to try and keep some of this authenticity, but then also what's available in maybe like a Tesco's, because there's a lot of ingredients from around the world which you can't get in this country, which is sometimes a shame, because I love food and I love trying new food.
Do you have any tips for architecture students?
When you first get started studying architecture, don't be disheartened, because I think architecture is a really beautiful subject to learn, and it is really fascinating. I worked really hard in school, and then that translated to like the outputs and the grades. And then when I came to architecture school, like it was the first time I got I put in a lot of work and I got like a really bad grade. And so I think, yeah, just don't be disheartened and like give it some time. So I know a lot of people that dropped out in the first year of my uni. So I think before you even like venture into it, like actually ask yourself, is this something I really want to do? Because I don't want to sugarcoat it. It is like a lot of work. But I think people that are more experienced will learn their own ways of working. I think it's trying to understand what type of work you are as well, because I think when you do your undergrad, you're surrounded by a lot of people who are just doing exams and maybe an essay. And then they can wait and just do their coursework. Maybe they should, but they can wait till like the day before. Whereas the reality of architecture, you can't, because like for me at least, I have tutorials once a week. And you want to get the most out of those tutorials. You don't want to show up with the same thing each week.
You also don't want that pressure on yourself, because like realistically it's not possible to do a whole design project in one day, even if it's the worst design you could think of, because you have to make the boards, you have to get your renders, sections, elevations. That's not, you can't do that one day.
No, exactly.
What's your unpopular opinion in architecture?
But there is a big difference between university and practice, and I think people need to be aware of that, at least if you're like just starting out, because I think university is actually more daunting than practice. Whereas I feel like maybe other courses, the degrees aren't as daunting as the actual practice of it all. Whereas architecture, I feel like, for me at least, I find practice quite stressful. I never like it was the first time I did have a social life.